A recent leak has provided unique insight into how the UK government operated at the height of the COVID pandemic. It was a leak to the Daily Telegraph of more than 100,000 private WhatsApp messages involving former Health Secretary Matt Hancock.
Over the last few days, thanks to our world-class genomic capability in the UK,
and I'm also the proud shareholder of Genomics England,
we have identified a new variant of coronavirus which may be associated with the fastest spread in the southeast of England. I need to tell the House that over the last week, we've seen very sharp exponential rises in the virus across London, Kent, parts of Essex and Hertfordshire.
The Health Secretary has told MPs that London and parts of Essex and Hertfordshire will move into England's highest tier of COVID restrictions on Wednesday.
We have to take swift and decisive action, which unfortunately is absolutely essential to control this deadly disease while the vaccine is rolled out. We must do what it takes to protect our loved ones and our NHS now. I know these steps are hard, but we must not waver as we enter the final stretch, so that when we look back on this time of crisis, we can all say that we played our part.
this news about the new variant has been an incredibly difficult end to, frankly, an awful year. What I'd say to every single person is that if you act like you have the virus, then that will stop the virus from spreading to others. When we put in place restrictions like this, we know the huge impact that has on people's lives. And you know, I had to call my mum last night and say, I'm really sorry, but we're not going to see you at Christmas. Obviously, the good, hopeful news is that the vaccine is on its way, but we've got to stick together now, and we've got to all play our part in getting this back under control. The plea that I have is that people will play their part, because it's only by acting, all of us, that we can keep this and get this under control.
It's been such a tough year for so many people, and there's William Shakespeare putting it so simply for everybody that, we can get on with our lives. I've still got this worry that we can't blow it now, Piers. We've still got to get the vaccine to millions of people, and so we've got to keep sticking by the rules. But it's just, there's so much work gone into this, and I'm really, it makes you proud to be British.
Welcome back to the High Impact Flicks channel. We got a lot more coming up for you, so stay tuned.
People ask me all the time, hey Brian, do you really use that keto elevate stuff, and does it really work? The answer is yes and yes. Never in my entire life have I lost body fat so quickly. Not even in my prime at 25, which is over 25 years ago. I'm approaching 54 this year. If you want to support the channel and do your health a favor, grab some with my link in the description.
It didn't start in February last year. The war started in 2014, and since 2014, NATO allies have provided support to Ukraine with training, with equipment, so the Ukrainian armed forces were much stronger in 2022 than they were in 2014. And of course that made a huge difference when President Putin decided to attack Ukraine.
CGTN came up with a great infographic timeline of the Nord Stream pipeline explosion, which many say is a clear act of war and the initiation of a seriously dangerous environmental disaster. On February 24, 2022, the Russian-Ukraine conflict begins. Before and after the crisis broke out, American politicians repeatedly threatened to attack Nord Stream.
If Russia invades, there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
Russia invades Ukraine, one way or another, Nord Stream 2 will not move.
According to Seymour Hersh, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan's interagency group sent a few members to Norway to meet with the Norwegian Secret Service and Navy to plant the explosives. 116 days before the Nord Stream explosions, U.S. warships arrived in Stockholm for Baltops 22, an annual exercise in the Baltic region. 113 days before the explosion, the 13-day exercise kicked off which featured 47 ships, 89 aircraft, and 7,000 personnel in the Baltic Sea. During the exercise, NATO teams of divers planted mines from Bornholm Island for competing teams to find and destroy using the latest underwater technology. The day of the Nord Stream explosion on September 26, 2022, Hirsch says in his article, on that day, a Norwegian Navy P-8 surveillance plane made a seemingly routine flight and dropped a sonar buoy. A few hours later, high-powered C4 explosives were triggered and 3 of the 4 pipelines were destroyed. Within a few minutes, pools of methane gas that remained in the shuttered pipelines could be seen spreading on the water's surface. 4 days after the Nord Stream explosion on September 30th, 2022, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said, "It's a tremendous opportunity to once and for all remove the dependence on Russian energy and thus take away from Vladimir Putin the weaponization of energy as a means of advancing his imperial designs." A day after the explosion, Radek Sikorski, a member of the European Parliament, tweeted, "Thank you, USA," with a picture of the methane escaping from the leak into the environment. In other news, liberals are going bonkers about what Michael Knowles said about transgenderism.
There can be no middle way in dealing with transgenderism. It is all or nothing. If transgenderism is true, if men really can become women, then it's true for everybody of all ages. If transgenderism is false, as it is, if men really can't become women, as they cannot, then it's false for everybody too. And if it's false, then we should not indulge it, especially since that indulgence requires taking away the rights and customs of so many people. If it is false, then for the good of society, and especially for the good of the poor people who have fallen prey to this confusion, transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely. The whole preposterous ideology at every level.
Rolling Stone went and wrote an article on this entitled, "CPAC Speaker Calls for Transgenderism to be Eradicated." The first 2 paragraphs read, "The rights war on queer and trans people took center stage at the Conservative Political Action Conference as Daily Wire host Michael Knowles openly called for the public eradication of transgenderism. During his speech on Saturday, Knowles told the crowd, for the good of society, transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely. The whole preposterous ideology at every level." A number of people on Twitter called his remarks genocidal. They say, tragically, Knowles' ideology is right in line with Republican politicians who have enacted or introduced bans on drag performances, restrictions on transgender health care, bills that would ban trans people from using bathrooms corresponding with their gender identity, and laws like Florida's Don't Say Gay that bars teachers from teaching about sexual orientation or gender identity. The Movement Advancement Project, a group that tracks LGBTQ legislation, describes these efforts as an ongoing, quote, war against LGBTQ people in America and their very right and ability to openly exist. Leave your thoughts about this for the world and the global thought police in the comment section below. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to this channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know, and don't forget to subscribe to my private email list through my website, highimpactflix.com, and visit our merch store where you'll find great designs to put on any shirt, hoodie, mug, hat, cell phone case, whatever you want. I'll see you in the next video.